Have you ever wondered why some people seem to move through life as though supported by an invisible hand, gliding through circumstances with an ease that appears almost effortless, attracting opportunities, relationships, and abundance as naturally as breathing, while you seem to keep colliding with the same invisible walls, the same recurring obstacles, the same patterns of limitation that no amount of effort seems to permanently dissolve? Have you ever lain awake in the darkness of the night, staring at the ceiling, genuinely questioning why the universe appears to be ignoring your desires, your dreams, your most sincere and heartfelt requests? As though you are standing behind a thick pane of invisible glass, calling out, waving, wanting, praying. And from the other side of that glass, from that divine mechanism that is supposed to hear and respond, there is nothing. No signal, no answer, no movement. No matter how hard you work, no matter how earnestly you want, the external reality simply refuses to shift. The same cycles, the same financial tightness, the same loneliness, the same persistent feeling of dissatisfaction that no achievement seems to fully resolve. But what if I told you something that would permanently change the way you understand this experience? The universe, or what Carl Jung described in his profound analytical work as the collective unconscious, is not ignoring you. That vast and intelligent system, that divine organizing intelligence that underlies all of manifest reality, is not deaf to your signal. The problem is not that your voice is too quiet. The problem is that you have not yet learned to speak the language that system actually understands and responds to. What if there is a way of asking, a way of genuinely communicating with that intelligence? A method so precise and so aligned with the actual laws governing psychological and universal reality that when you use it, the universe responding becomes not a possibility, but an inevitability. A method as certain as the ancient alchemists' understanding of transformation, as reliable and as non-negotiable as the law of gravity. This is not merely the secret of fortunate people. This is the intersection point between the depths of psychology and the laws of the universe. The territory that Jung studied for years from the stone tower on the shores of Lake Zurich, descending into the architecture of the human soul with the same rigor a physicist brings to the laws of matter. Today, we will not be having a shallow conversation about thinking positively and watching everything magically improve. Today, I am going to place in your hands the key that unlocks the closed doors. This method is so powerful that from the moment you begin applying it, from the moment you genuinely align your interior world with this frequency, you will start witnessing doors that seemed permanently sealed, opening with a sound you recognize. Opportunities appearing where there were none. Desires moving toward physical reality with a speed that will initially surprise you and eventually simply become the normal operating rhythm of your life. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Your greatest and most beautiful journey is the one that leads you back to yourself. Subscribe to Carl Jung Philosophy and hit the like button, and let's walk that path together. Most people have been taught to want in entirely the wrong way. From the earliest years of childhood, most of us were conditioned to ask from a position of bowing our heads. to request from a place of powerlessness, of scarcity, of hoping and waiting and enduring. We were taught to want with the energy of someone who fundamentally believes they might not receive, to pray and wait and accept whatever comes as though we have no genuine participation in what arrives. But Jung's work and the universal laws he spent his career mapping whisper a considerably different and considerably sharper truth. The universe does not respond to your powerlessness. It does not respond to your desperation or your neediness or the frequency of lack that broadcasts, "I do not have this and may never have it." The universe responds to certainty, to clarity, to inner wholeness, to the specific quality of alignment between what you say you want and the frequency your actual interior state is transmitting at every moment. Hoping is the polite way of saying, "I do not currently have this." Begging is the elaborate way of saying, "I am not worthy of this, but perhaps you will be kind enough to give it anyway." The universe receives both of these frequencies and reflects exactly the same thing back to you. More waiting, more distance from what you desire, more of the experience of lack that generated the hoping and the begging in the first place. But by the end of what follows, you will understand precisely how to communicate with that invisible mechanism, with that great cosmic intelligence, in a way that makes its response not a question of probability, but of absolute certainty. Leave the number 111 in the comments. In the symbolic and psychological framework that Jung developed across his lifetime, 111 represents the specific moment when an individual first consciously recognizes that the reality they have been experiencing is not being imposed on them from outside, but is being generated from within. The first genuine awakening to the understanding that the interior world and the exterior world are not separate systems, but a single, continuously reflecting mirror. If something in what you are receiving right now is landing at a depth beneath ordinary intellectual processing, 111 is your signal. Leave it here. Let us conduct a thought experiment that will clarify the entire foundation of what we are exploring here. Imagine life itself as a vast cosmic restaurant, infinite in its design menu, limitless in what it is capable of serving, genuinely prepared to bring you anything you are capable of ordering with sufficient clarity. You enter this restaurant. The waiter, who is the creative intelligence of the universe itself, approaches your table with genuine attentiveness, notepad in hand, and asks with complete readiness, "What would you like?" And you look up and say, "I want food." The waiter pauses. A quality of uncertainty crosses the interaction. What kind of food? Italian? Simple and nourishing? Complex and refined? Hot? Cold? You insist, "I do not know, just food. Something good. Something that makes me feel better." What do you imagine arrives at your table? The chef prepares whatever was already in progress, perhaps yesterday's leftovers, perhaps something you have never specifically wanted, perhaps exactly the opposite of what your body most needs in that moment. You experience frustration. You feel that the restaurant has failed you, but the actual failure was yours. You ordered from the universe with the vocabulary of vagueness, and the universe delivered with the precision of vagueness. Now imagine entering that same restaurant, sitting down, looking the waiter directly in the eye and saying, "I would like a perfectly prepared steak, medium rare, with a specific sauce, accompanied by exactly these sides." The moment those words leave your mouth, the entire kitchen organizes itself around the production of that specific experience. The universe operates through Jung's deep unconscious in precisely this manner. When your desires are blurred, when you transmit, "I just want to be happy," or "I need a little more money," you leave the universe an enormous interpretive space. "I just want to be happy" produces a butterfly crossing your path, which technically qualifies. "I need a little more money" produces a coin found on the sidewalk, which also technically qualifies. The result is scattered, inconsistent, perpetually unsatisfying, a life of partial manifestation and chronic disappointment. But the moment you sharpen your desire to laser precision, the moment you move from general wanting to specific, detailed, crystalline clarity, chaos transforms into order. Instead of "I want to be wealthy," you declare, "I earn $10,000 per month by applying my specific gifts, contributing genuine value to others through opportunities that bring me genuine satisfaction, and I manage this abundance with confidence and peace." That is not a wish. That is a command. That is a prayer. That is an alignment. The difference between what the universe brings you in response to the first versus the second is the difference between mountains and valleys. Never allow yourself to forget this fundamental truth. The universe does not respond to your desires. It responds to your clarity. Jung understood this with extraordinary depth. When he worked with his patients, those seekers of the soul who came to him carrying the weight of lives that felt mysteriously misaligned with what they genuinely wanted, he would ask them in precise detail about the symbols and the specific images of their dreams. Because detail reveals the precise point where the light of consciousness is genuinely directed. Detail demonstrates where energy is genuinely flowing. Only what has been brought fully into the light of conscious awareness can be deliberately directed. Only what you can describe with complete specificity can be genuinely ordered from the infinite menu of what the universe is capable of delivering. But here is the critical recognition that separates everything that follows from ordinary self-help instruction. Intention alone, however precise, however clearly formulated, is not sufficient. Choosing the right words and transmitting them with intellectual clarity is the equivalent of turning the key in the ignition. But to actually accelerate, to direct that engine with genuine force toward the destination you have identified, you need something that most approaches to manifestation consistently underestimate or entirely overlook. You need to power your intention with the most potent fuel available in the entire universe. You need emotion. Because emotion is energy in its most dynamic and most directly transmissible form. Consider a simple and universally recognizable experience. You walk into a room. No one has said a single word. No one has looked in your direction, but you can feel what is happening in that space with a precision that your reasoning mind cannot fully account for. The tension in the atmosphere is as physically present as the furniture. Or, alternatively, you sit beside someone and without any identifiable external cause, you feel a wave of peace, of warmth, of inexplicable well-being moving through your system. Why? Because emotions are not contained within the individual who is experiencing them. They broadcast. They radiate outward as frequencies, as actual vibrational patterns in the field of reality. And the universe's native language is not the words you speak, but the frequency your heart is genuinely transmitting at any given moment. Leave the number 444 in the comments. In the symbolic language that informed Jung's understanding of psychological depth across multiple traditions, 444 represents the stable and unshakable inner foundation that forms when you stop speaking your desires from your mouth while broadcasting the opposite frequency from your heart. When the alignment between what you consciously want and what your deepest interior is actually transmitting finally becomes coherent and unified. If something in what is being described here is beginning to feel like the specific missing piece you have been searching for, 444 marks that recognition. Leave it here. You can repeat affirmations indefinitely. You can write them hundreds of times in careful journals. You can speak them to the mirror every morning with impressive conviction. But if while you are performing these practices there is a knot of doubt somewhere beneath your sternum, if somewhere in the depths of your psychology a quiet but persistent voice is whispering, "Who are you to want this? You have never had luck like this. This kind of thing does not happen to people like you," then, regardless of what your mouth is producing, the universe is listening to your heart. And it is responding to your heart with the accuracy of a perfectly calibrated mirror. Jung called this the shadow. Your conscious mind reaches for the light of what you desire. But if your shadow, the unintegrated unconscious dimension of your psychology, is simultaneously broadcasting the frequency of darkness and doubt, the shadow consistently overrides the conscious intention. Because the power of the unconscious operates at magnitudes that dwarf the power of the conscious mind. This is the precise mechanism behind what might be called the paradox of desperate desire. When someone wants something with the frantic, grasping, desperate energy of someone who does not have it and fears they never will, they are broadcasting the frequency of lack with extraordinary intensity. And lack, by the fundamental law of resonance that governs all manifestation, attracts more lack. The intensity of their longing, contaminated as it is with anxiety, with frustration, with the corrosive question of why hasn't this happened yet, is transmitting not the frequency of abundance, but its precise opposite. When those urgent internal questions arise, why is this still not here? What am I doing wrong? When will things finally change? What is actually being communicated to the universe's creative intelligence is, I do not have this, and I do not believe I will. And the universe responds with faithful precision. But when you invert the equation, when you adjust your emotional frequency to match the reality you desire as though it has already fully arrived, rather than desperately pursuing it from a position of current lack, what most people call miracles simply become the standard operating pattern of your existence. Do you want financial abundance? Stop waiting for your bank balance to change before you permit yourself to feel wealthy. Cultivate the interior experience of abundance, the feeling of sufficiency, of generosity, of ease and confidence in relation to money. Right now, with whatever resources are currently present in your life. Carry the interior posture of someone who has never doubted their capacity to provide for themselves and to create genuine value. The feeling comes first. The external reality follows. This is not self-deception. This is the precise application of a law as reliable and as non-negotiable as gravity. Do you want genuine love? Stop waiting for the right person to arrive before you allow yourself to feel genuinely loved and genuinely worthy of love. Open the spring of love within your own interior first. Look at yourself in the mirror with the warmth and the genuine appreciation you would offer someone you deeply care for. Cultivate the feeling of being deeply seen, deeply valued, deeply connected. Not as a performance, but as a genuine interior state that you inhabit with increasing completeness each day. When you broadcast that frequency authentically, the universe has no alternative but to bring you its physical correspondence. Leave the number 528 in the comments. In the symbolic and vibrational framework that builds on the archetypal language Jung developed throughout his career, 528 represents the specific frequency of genuine transformation at the emotional level. The resonance of authentic interior change that reorganizes not just what you think, but how your entire being vibrates in relation to what you most deeply want. If you feel this quality of genuine emotional shift beginning to move through your understanding as you receive what is being shared here, 528 is your signal. Leave it here. I am fully aware that your rational mind is preparing its objection right now. It is reasonable and it is predictable. How can I genuinely feel the emotional state of having something I demonstrably do not yet have without simply deceiving myself? Is this not an elaborate and ultimately self-defeating form of wishful thinking? This is precisely the point where most people stumble, hesitate, and abandon the process before it has had the opportunity to demonstrate its reliability. So allow me to offer you something that the scientific and neuroscientific research has now confirmed with extraordinary consistency. Your brain, that staggeringly complex biological information processor, cannot reliably distinguish between what your physical senses directly perceive and what your imagination vividly and emotionally constructs. For your unconscious mind, a richly detailed, emotionally engaged visualization and an actual physical experience generate the same electrochemical signals, the same neural firing patterns, the same cascade of physical responses in the body. This has been repeatedly verified in neurological research conducted with elite athletes who achieve measurable performance improvements through purely mental rehearsal. Imagining their movement, their victory, the specific physical sensations of their success, without any additional physical training. Their muscles receive microsignals. Their brains rehearse the winning pattern. Their bodies begin preparing for the reality their minds are consistently inhabiting. If this principle operates with such documented precision in the domain of athletic performance, why would you continue to wait for the external manifestation of your desire before allowing yourself to feel what it will feel like to have it? Why insist on the external proof before providing yourself with the internal experience? Reverse the sequence entirely. Step consciously and deliberately into the emotional experience of the version of you who already has what you desire. How does that version of you walk through a room? How do they hold their posture? How do they speak to others? What is the quality of their attention, their energy, their relationship to the people and circumstances around them? How do they wake up in the morning? What is the texture of their interior experience throughout an ordinary day? Walk that way. Speak that way. Think that way. You are not performing a role. You are becoming. Because when your emotions and your intentions align in the experience of already having what you desire, the universe faces a very simple situation. It must fill the gap between your interior reality and your exterior circumstances. And it always does so in the direction of your interior reality. The practice of Jungian active imagination, what might today be called deliberate visualization, is the specific and powerful technique through which you build and inhabit the interior experience of your desired reality with sufficient vividness and emotional depth that your unconscious mind encodes it as actual experience. This is not casual daydreaming. This is a ritual. Find a quiet space where you will not be interrupted, your interior sanctuary for this work. Close your eyes. Take several deep breaths and allow your body to genuinely release its accumulated tension. Clear your mind of the day's noise with the same deliberateness with which you would clear a workspace before beginning important work. Now construct in your mind a vivid, high-definition image of the reality you are calling into physical existence. Watch it as a film, but not as an audience member observing from outside. Experience it through your own eyes from inside the scene. What are you seeing? How sharp and bright are the colors? What is the texture of the environment around you? What sounds are present? Is there laughter, the sound of a city or landscape, music, voices you love? Is there a scent? The specific smell of a new environment, a person you love, a place you have always wanted to inhabit. The more completely you engage all your senses, the more real this experience becomes for the unconscious mind that is receiving and encoding it. Then engage the emotions. Do not merely see it, feel it. If you are visualizing financial abundance, feel the specific quality of relief and expansion that comes when you check your account and see what you have been calling into existence. If you are visualizing love, feel the warmth spreading from the center of your chest when you are genuinely seen and genuinely valued by someone who matters to you. The critical key is experiencing this as happening now, not as a future event to be hoped for, but as a present reality already in existence, waiting only for the physical dimension to catch up with what is already true in the interior. But here we arrive at the specific threshold where most people discover their most stubborn and most revealing resistance. Even with perfect visualization practice, even with the intention to genuinely feel the desired reality, a deeper layer of the psychology continues to insist that none of this is genuinely available to someone like them. These are Jung's complexes, the deeply embedded limiting beliefs that function as invisible psychological bars, confining you to the same recurring experience, regardless of how much you consciously want to create something different. You recognize them by the specific character of the internal whisper. Money is hard to earn and harder to keep. I have never been lucky in love, and there is no reason to expect that to change. Success is for other people. My circumstances, my background, my particular combination of limitations makes it inaccessible to me. The most painful and most important truth about these beliefs is this: the majority of them do not actually belong to you. They were installed by family systems, by cultural conditioning, by educational environments, by the accumulated weight of past experiences interpreted through the lens of a child who lacked the psychological development to question what they were absorbing. They were, in a very real sense, put on you like a garment. And a garment that someone else placed on you is not your skin. You can remove it, but first you must see it clearly for exactly what it is. This is what Jung meant by confronting the shadow. When a limiting belief rises to the surface of your awareness, do not treat it as an enemy to be destroyed or suppressed. Treat it as data to be examined. Ask it, are you actually an absolute truth about reality? Or are you simply a pattern I was taught to accept before I had any capacity to question you? Are you genuinely mine, or do you belong to a frightened version of me that formed in circumstances that no longer apply? Then, with deliberate intention and genuine conviction, replace the toxic belief with a new and empowering one. When your mind whispers you will never be genuinely successful, respond with, "Success is my natural condition, my birthright, and every action I take brings me into closer alignment with it." When your psychology insists you are not worthy of the abundance and the love and the beauty this world contains, respond with complete clarity. I am entirely and unconditionally worthy of every form of abundance this universe makes available. The more consistently and the more genuinely you practice this replacement, the more deeply your unconscious mind encodes the new belief as its operating truth. The neural pathways in your brain literally reorganize themselves around the new pattern. And when beliefs shift, external reality follows. Not eventually, not someday, but with the same reliability and the same non-negotiable consistency as any other fundamental law. There is one additional element in this entire process that functions as what might be described as a rocket propellant, an accelerant that dramatically amplifies the effectiveness of everything else. That element is genuine gratitude. Not the hollow, mechanical recitation of thank you that many people perform as a spiritual obligation without genuine feeling, but the deep, heart-generated recognition and appreciation of what is already present and what is already moving toward you. Gratitude felt before the desired reality has arrived in physical form. When you genuinely feel grateful, you transmit to the universe the frequency of "I have and I am sufficient, and I am already receiving." And the universe responds to that frequency by giving you increasingly more to be genuinely grateful for. Similar attracts similar. Abundance attracts abundance. Gratitude for what is already present creates the energetic conditions for the arrival of everything you are calling into existence. The most destructive and most common error most people make with gratitude is this: I will be grateful when I have the thing I want. I will appreciate my life when my circumstances have improved to the point where appreciation feels natural and justified. This is entirely inverted. You must feel the gratitude first. The desired reality follows. This is not a sequence you can reverse and expect the same result. Gratitude before manifestation is a cause. Gratitude after manifestation is simply a consequence. The cause is what you need to cultivate. Begin each morning, before you reach for any device, before the weight of the day's concerns has settled on your shoulders, by identifying at least 3 specific things you genuinely appreciate about your life right now. They do not need to be large or dramatic. The light finding its way through your window, the warmth of the bed you are lying in, the breath in your lungs, the fact of your own existence and the possibility that resides within it. Allow the feeling of genuine gratitude to expand in your chest. Let your heart genuinely soften around what is already present. Then extend this practice into an active gratitude journal, in which you write not only what you appreciate about your current life, but also write about your desired reality as though it has already fully manifested. Not, I hope my dream career arrives, but I am so deeply grateful for this extraordinary work that allows me to express my specific gifts, contribute genuine value, and build the life I always knew was available to me. When you write in this manner, your unconscious mind encodes the written reality as an already accomplished fact. Your relationship to time itself begins to shift, and the universe, receiving this signal with perfect clarity, organizes itself to close the gap between your written declaration and your physical experience. One critical recognition remains, and it is the one that most distinguishes genuine manifestation from mere wishful thinking. Clarity, visualization, emotional alignment, and gratitude are all essential, but none of them replace the necessity of what might be called inspired action, the specific intuition-guided steps that translate interior alignment into physical movement toward your desired reality. The universe prepares opportunities, opens doors, orchestrates what appear to be coincidences, but you must walk through the door. You must take the action that your inspired intuition identifies as the next right movement. If you want financial abundance, study the domain of finance, understand investment, Develop your skills. Pursue the opportunities that align with your deepest gifts. If you want genuine love, become the most complete and authentic version of yourself. Open your heart genuinely to connection. Allow yourself to be known rather than performing the version of yourself you believe will be most acceptable. Opportunities rarely arrive with the drama of thunder. They come as quiet nudges, an idea that appears in a moment of stillness, an impulse to reach out to someone specific, a feeling that draws you toward a particular course, a sense that a specific direction deserves exploration. These are the universe's communications. These are, as Jung understood them, the self speaking through the language of intuition. When something from within consistently draws you toward a particular movement, trust it, act on it. Even the smallest step, taken in genuine alignment with your interior guidance, can initiate a chain reaction whose full consequences you cannot yet see from where you are standing. And then, and this is the dimension of the process that the ego finds most genuinely difficult, surrender. Trust the process with the whole of your being. Release the need to control every specific detail of how and when your desired reality materializes. The universe operates with a timing that reflects a far greater intelligence than the impatient human schedule your ego prefers. The absence of immediate visible results does not mean that the vast preparation occurring beneath the surface has stopped or failed. Think of the seed you place in the ground. You do not excavate it daily to assess its progress. You water it. You ensure it receives light, and you trust with the confidence of genuine knowing that when its time arrives, it will emerge. Not because you forced it, but because you created and maintained the conditions for its natural emergence. Place your intention. Cultivate the emotional experience of your desired reality. Take your inspired actions, and then release. Release the grasping. Release the anxious monitoring. Release the how and the when questions that are simply the ego's attempt to manage what it was never meant to manage. When you genuinely trust the universe, when you release the steering wheel to the vast intelligence that has been organizing reality since long before you arrived in it, that intelligence has nothing to do but bring you what you have aligned yourself with, often more beautifully and more completely than your limited imagination was capable of originally conceiving. Subscribe to Carl Jung Philosophy and continue this journey with us, because everything you have genuinely and deeply desired is already within reach. The frequency simply needs to be aligned. The intention needs to be crystalline. The emotions need to be genuinely engaged. The actions need to be inspired and consistent. And the trust needs to be complete and unwavering. You are not separate from the creative intelligence of this universe. You are an expression of it. And when you finally understand this with your whole being, rather than just your intellect, you will discover that asking the universe for what you want does not require hoping or begging or waiting for permission. It requires only your complete and genuine alignment with the truth of what you already are. Leave the number 777 in the comments. In the symbolic language of quantum consciousness and the deep archetypal framework that informed Jung's understanding of the relationship between the individual psyche and the creative intelligence underlying all of reality, 777 represents the perfect alignment of individual intention with universal creative force. The specific and unmistakable resonance of a consciousness that has stopped struggling against the current and learned instead to flow with it, receiving everything it has aligned itself with as the natural and inevitable consequence of that alignment. If what has been shared here today has shifted something real in your understanding of how to communicate with the universe that created you, if you are genuinely ready to stop hoping and start aligning, 777 is your declaration. Leave it here. Let this community witness the moment you chose to speak the language the universe has always been waiting to hear from you.